Hello Outreachers, welcome to LinkedFusion Academy. This is Darshit from LinkedFusion, and in this video tutorial we are going to cover Google Sheet integration with LinkedFusion using Zapier. So let's get started. So here are the few things that you required. So the very first thing, a LinkedFusion account. The next thing is a Zapier account, and the third thing is the spreadsheet where you need to log all the data. So I have created this spreadsheet. As you can see over here, I have few columns over here. So let me tell you why I have created these columns. So the very first is the name. So it will populate the name of my prospects. The second one is the current company. So it will populate the prospect's current company in which he's working in right now. Third one is the lead source. So from which source the content was created. The fourth one would be the LinkedIn profile for the prospect. And the next one is the sequence name. So from which sequence the prospect was populated inside the spreadsheet. Next one is the prospect's email address. So whatever email address he has used on his LinkedIn profile will be populated in here. The next one is the company domain. So the domain which the company uses will be populated in this column. The next one is the trigger type. So on the basis of which trigger LinkedFusion has created the contact or populated the prospect inside this spreadsheet, and if the trigger type is a response that the prospect has responded back. So in here it will show you the response which the prospect did back to you. So I think the spreadsheet has been cleared. Okay, so now let's go inside Zapier and create this tab. So this is my Zapier account. I'm going to click on make a Zap, and the very first thing that I need to use is a webhook. So here you can see it says premium webhook by Zapier, and what I'm going to use is catch hook. So we basically need to catch the data from LinkedFusion, so we are going to use catch hook. Now click on continue. Now the next thing we get is a custom webhook URL. So using this URL, all the data from LinkedFusion will be pushed inside this Zapier, or you can say this particular Zap. So I need to copy this webhook URL, go inside LinkedFusion, click on webhooks on the left, and here you can see webhooks by Zapier. So you need to add the link which you copied from over here, and you need to paste it in here, this field, and finally click on test webhook and save. Okay, and now when we go back to our Zap, click on continue and click on test trigger. So here is the sample data which the LinkedFusion has sent us. Once we had clicked on this test button, this sample data was pushed from LinkedFusion to our Zap. Now let's click on continue. Okay, now the next step is to add our spreadsheet in here. So we will be looking for Google spreadsheet, and in here we need to select an appropriate action. So we will take create spreadsheet row. Click on continue. Now it asks me to sign in so I'm just going to use my Drive account, allow. Okay, so now I am signed in. I will click on continue. Okay, now I need to select my spreadsheet. So the name of my spreadsheet is LinkedFusion Zapier log sheet. This is the first one. Now the worksheet that I need to select is the first one, sheet 1. Okay, now next step is to map the fields from our webhook with the columns that we need to populate. So now as you can see that Zapier has brought all the columns which were there inside our spreadsheet once we added which sheet we need to populate with our data. So the first thing will be the name. So I will look for full name in here. So Joey Tribbiani's or sample data. Now let's look for current company. Now let's look for lead source. So oops, not here. So lead source is LinkedFusion. Now we need to look for LinkedIn profile, so let's look for public identifier. Next thing to add is a sequence name. Next thing would be an email, so that's in over here. Company domain, so let's look for domain. It says current company domain. Trigger type, so I will just look for type. So here are the trigger types. And final one is the response, so let's look for response. Yeah, this one. And continue. Okay, so that's done. All the fields are being mapped with a proper column inside our spreadsheet. Now let's click on test and continue. And it's done. So you can see that the sample data has been populated in the very first row of my spreadsheet. So it says company ABC, LinkedFusion, test Zap, my email address, or rather you can say the sample data's email address. So everything looks good. Now the next step and the last step, turn on our Zap. So let's click on the switch, and now the Zap is on. Now the next thing to do is to create a LinkedFusion sequence. So inside the sequences, click on add new invitation. I'm going to title my sequence as CEO and founder in US region, and let's say in SaaS industry. Now I would set the working hours as full day, and when I turn on the Zap, or you can say Zapier switch, you get this 4 trigger. Now it's up to you which triggers or on which event triggers you need to populate your spreadsheet. But for the sake of this demo, I will select all 4 of them. But if you have a certain use case where you only need to populate the spreadsheet on, let's say, on invitation accepted, when your prospect accepts your invitation, so in that case you need to uncheck all the remaining 3 of this checkbox and only keep invitation accepted checked. If the same thing happens for response received, you only want the data pushed when somebody responds back to you, you need to check this checkbox and uncheck all the rest of them. But as I said, for this demo, I will check all 4 of them. I want to get the data for which prospects I am inviting, who is accepted, who is responding, and which invitations were withdrawn, or you can say who didn't accept my invitation. So I need to keep all the 4 information inside my spreadsheet. Okay, now let's go. Next step is to specify the target audience. So for that, we need to go on LinkedIn. I will look for CEO this way and founder and now I will select the connection type as second and third. Location as United States. Still I have too many results, so I'll go inside all filters and let's say marketing, venture capital, consulting, marketing, business coaching, mentoring, all of them. Okay, I will select these titles and let's see. Okay, pretty good results, 2700 results. So I'm going to copy this search and add it in here and hit enter on my keyboard. Now it doesn't really matter which type of method you use to define your target audience when you are working with Zapier integration. The integration will still work if you don't use a search URL and rather prefer to use a CSV file. So it is not something that depends that you only need to use a LinkedIn search URL in order to make the integration work. You can use any method to define your prospects. Now, next step is to set the connection message. So set connection message, and I'm not going to type the entire message. I already have one template ready, so I'm going to use my templates and my follow-up template and one more follow-up template. You can say this one, add, and I will put this as 15 minutes, wait for 4 days, and then send the next follow-up message. Now the last step remaining is to set up the withdraw request period. So I would like to wait for 10 days and then withdraw the invitations if not accepted. And the final step is to submit. So now my sequence has been created, my Zap is ready and on, and my spreadsheet is also ready to populate the data. I'll just remove the sample data. So okay, so everything looks good. Now the only step remain is to start our sequence. So let's start the sequence and let's wait for a few minutes and see if invitations goes out and spreadsheet is populating with the data of the invitation of the prospect who received my invitation. Okay, so one invite has gone out. Let's check our spreadsheet, and there we go. You can see the very first prospect who enrolled in our sequence, Kevin, has been created inside our spreadsheet. You can see the trigger type as invitation sent. So the invite was sent to this prospect, and everything else looked good. So we still don't have the email and the company domain, so those things are considered as private information, and LinkedIn only set those informations when you are connected with the prospect. In my case, I only sent the invitation and I'm not connected. So next time when he accepts my invitation, the next log would be with his email address. So I hope now you guys know how to create or how you can use Zapier integration with a Google spreadsheet, and that is how you can build an integration. So if you have any questions related to this video or related to Zapier integration, you can drop the questions in the comment below, or feel free to drop us a message on our support. We have a chat support over here, so if you have any questions with our integrations with anything related to LinkedFusion, you can drop the message to our chat support. And
if you have still any questions, feel free to reach out to our team. You can also drop your questions inside the comment section.